Okay, so today we are going to talk about multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Um, this is on page 23 of your notes. So we're going to start down. I know there is a few boxes above this, but we're going to skip down to the bottom part and we're just going to get into this and talk about decimals. We're going to skip integers because I feel like you guys already know how to multiply integers. Um, so the rules with the signs are exactly the same. So we're just going to get into the more complex stuff. So to fill in the blanks, it says if the signs are the same, the product or the quotient is positive. Okay? So if we were going to do 4.5 times 3, we would do 3 times 5. It's 15. We bring our 1 over. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Okay? We only have one decimal place. So we bring it over 1 and put it in between the 3 and the 5. So if we look, we have a positive and a positive. So that means that our answer stays positive. So now we're going to divide. And we're going to do 5 divided by 2. So if you notice, I didn't put the negative signs in there. When I'm multiplying and dividing numbers, I forget about the signs for a minute. I do the multiplication or the division, and then I look back at what the signs were, and then I figure out if my number should be positive or negative. So we need to decide how many times does 2 go into 5. It goes into there 2 times. So that's 4. Okay, we have 1 left over. We need to add a 0. Bring it down. How many times does 2 go into 10? It goes in there 5 times. Bring up our 0. So our answer is 2.5. We have a negative times a negative, so they have the same sign. So it is a positive answer. Now we are going to do 15.6 times 2. 2 times 6 is 12. Carry our 1. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry our 1. 2 times 2 is 1. Add in the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Add in the 1, we get 3. 1 decimal place total. So we make it 1 decimal place in our answer. Again, we have a negative times a negative, so they have the same sign. So our answer is positive. Now we have 4.32 divided by 1.2. I'm going to put this on a different page to give us some room. So when we are dividing with decimals, we would like this number on the outside to not have any decimal places. So we are going to move the decimal until it's out of the picture. So if we moved it 1 time to the right out here, we also have to move it 1 time to the right in here. So we're going to end up doing 12 divided by 43.2. So how many times does 12 go into 43? Okay, it goes into there 3 times. That would be 36. 43 divided by 36, or not divided, minus. Is 7. Okay, we bring down our 2. 12 goes into 72 how many times? 6. That is 72. Okay, and we just bring up our decimal. So our answer would be 3.6. If we look, they're both positive numbers, so our answer stays positive. It is positive 3.6. So if decimals, or if any number, if they have different signs, the product or the quotient is negative. So we're doing 2.5 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 17. There's one decimal place total. So we put our decimal one decimal place over. We have a negative times a positive, which makes this a negative answer. So our answer is negative 17.5. Okay, now we are going to do 8.2 divided by 4. 4 goes into 8 2 times. We bring down our 2. Okay, it doesn't go in there, so we have to add a 0. How many times does 4 go into 20? Okay, so it doesn't go in there, so we had to put a 0 here. Then we bring down a 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. We have a positive times a negative, so our answer is negative 2.05. We're doing 11.8 times 5. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. 5 times 1 is 5. We have one decimal place. Okay, so because our last number, we're behind the decimal 0, we don't actually have to write that in our answer. So our answer is 59. We have a negative times a positive, so it is a negative answer. And our last one for decimals is going to be 32 divided by 5. Okay, 5 goes into 32 6 times. We have 2 left over. 5 cannot go into 2, so we have to add a 0 and bring it down. 5 goes into 20 4 times. So we have 6.04 as our answer. We have a positive divided by a negative, so that makes our answer negative. So one way that I like to think about this is in terms of things happening to people. So I know, don't take this super literally, but it is a good way to remember it. So if a good thing happens to a good person, then I'm going to feel good about that. So I feel positive. So a positive times a positive is a positive. Good thing happens to a good person, we feel good about that. If a bad thing happens to a bad person, I'm still feeling okay about that. Now, everybody likes to tell me that you don't want bad things to happen to anybody. So the way that I look at it is, if a serial killer died, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling relieved. That's a good feeling. So I'm feeling positive. That's how I think about it. And then if a bad thing happens to a good person, that's not fair, okay? So I feel negative about that. And you could switch those two signs around and do a positive and a negative and still get a negative, okay? So good thing, good person, still feel okay. Bad thing, bad person, I still feel okay. If a bad thing happens to a good person, I don't feel good about that. I don't think that's fair, so I have a negative feeling towards that. So that's just a simple trick to think about signs and how they affect your answer. So we're going to go to fractions. And you are going to get to hear me sing a lovely song. So first we're going to fill in the blanks. So again, if the signs are the same, the product or the quotient is positive. Sorry, these things keep popping up on me. So we are multiplying fractions. And so the helpful song that I like to sing is multiplying fractions, that's no problem. Take the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom. So we just multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so we can now simplify this. Both of these numbers can be divided by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So our fraction is 2 over 5. We have a positive times a positive, so our answer is positive. So now, again, multiplying straight across. So 5 times 3 is 15. 6 times 4 is 24. Both of these can be divided by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. 24 divided by 3 is 8. We have a negative times a negative, so bad thing, bad person, feels good. So we stay positive. Now we're going to talk about dividing fractions. And my song for dividing fractions is, dividing fractions, don't ask why, just flip the second and multiply. So we're going to, in elementary school, you also learned it as keep, change, flip. So we keep the first one, we change it to multiplication, and we flip the second one. So now we can do what we did with multiplication and just multiply straight across. 3 times 5 is 15. 10 times 4 is 40. Both of these numbers can be divided by 5. So we end up with 3 over 8. We have a negative divided by a negative, so we have a positive answer. On this last one, we start off with an improper fraction, we start off with a mixed number, so we need to change it to an improper fraction. So we do 1 times 8, that's 8 plus 3 is 11. So we have 11 over 8 divided by 1/8. So again, we keep, change, flip. So we get 11 over 8 times 8 over 1. So 11 times 8 is 88. 8 times 1 is 8. That simplifies down to 11. Okay, positive divided by a positive stays positive. So now again, if the signs are different, the product or the quotient is negative. So same thing as we did up here. We keep, change, flip. So negative 2/3 times 2/1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. We're going to go back from an improper fraction to a mixed number. 3 goes into 4 one time. There's 1 left over, and 3 is our denominator. We have a negative divided by a positive, so that's a bad thing happening to a good person. That's not fair, so we're negative. So negative 1 1/3. First thing here, we have to change this 2.5 to an improper fraction. So 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. So we have 5/2 times negative 3/4. So we're going to do 5 times negative 3. That is negative 15. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 goes into 15 one time. There's 7 left over, and 8 is our denominator. So here we are going to keep, change, flip. So we have negative 8/9 times 9/4. So negative 8 times 9 is 72. 9 times 4 is 36. If you don't know, both of these numbers can be divided by 36. So we get the answer of 2/1, or we could just write 2. Okay? We have a negative divided by a negative divided by a positive, so that gives me a negative answer. And lastly, we have negative 7/10 times 1/4. So 7 times 1 is 7. 10 times 4 is 40. We have a negative times a positive, so that's a negative answer. And that number cannot simplify. So everything that we've done so far has been just two numbers multiplied or divided by each other. So what we're going to talk about now is what happens. What happens when we multiply more numbers together? So 2 times 2 is 4, so that's a positive answer. Or sorry, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, so that's positive. But then we do negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and we get negative 8, so that goes back to being negative. Again, we do negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, we get a positive answer. And then we do negative 2 multiplied by itself 5 times, and we get a negative answer. Okay? So all of these problems, though, they have the same exact sign. Okay? So what we just talked about was if it has the same sign, it should come out to a positive answer. But here and here, that's not the case. Okay? They have all of the same signs, but they came out to negative answers. So what's happening here is if I do negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, this answer is 4. So then we have a positive times a negative, so we get negative 8. Same thing here. We have 4, negative 8, oops, not 18, 8, 16, and then we get negative 32. So what we have to think about is if there are an even number of negative signs, so here we have 2 negative signs, here we have 4 negative signs. All of our negative signs, when we have even ones, end up canceling it out. So we're going to write an even number of negative signs is a positive answer. If there's an odd number, okay, because what happens is these two negative signs cancel each other out, these two negative signs cancel each other out, but we always have that one left over that turns it back into a negative answer. So an odd number of negative signs is a negative answer. Okay, so now I would like for you to pause the video and I want you to try these three on your own. Okay, so we're going to do this. We have negative 1 times 3, that's negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Positive 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. We're going to multiply that by 5. And we get negative 90. I'm sorry, not 90. I can't add today. We get negative 120. I knew that did not look right as soon as I said that. So we have 4 numbers here. 2 are negative. So we do 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. We get 1. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We get 16. Okay. We have a negative times a positive. That's a negative. Times another positive is a negative. Times another negative makes it a positive. Okay, so negative 9 times 4 is negative 36. Negative 36 times negative 1 is 36. Times negative 2 is negative 20, or not 27, 72. And then times 3 is negative 216. All right, so that is multiplying rational numbers. Rational numbers are integers, decimals, and fractions. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. Please ask for help. Don't struggle through this. But that is all we have for you.